Welcome. Welcome to this week's BTO talk on generative AI, and digital transformation. My name is Michael Alf, calling from Lisbon, and I'm one of the 3 co-founders of Beyond the Obvious, where we help organizations to move into this new world of AI, generative AI-driven leadership and transformation. And I'm here with my 2 partners. Over to you, Rob.
Yeah, Rob Thurner here, just off the plane back in the UK. Working with Cambridge Judge Business School on their digital disruption program and other clients, and we'll be sharing some feedback shortly on a recent experience which is relevant to our conversation. And over to Markus.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Rob and Michael. Markus Keiper here, professor for marketing at the National University of Singapore and a co-founder of Beyond the Obvious. And today we start with technology. Grok, is this a crocodile, or what do we need to understand about Grok, Michael?
Yeah, it's another model. Things are happening fast. And this is from Elon Musk, which actually might trigger an interesting conversation. If you've listened to some of the discussions, how he's potentially influencing actually what's happening in these models. But the news is actually a tech new. Grok 4 is out. And it seems to be really, really good. Again, as we say, each model is getting to the next level, is improving, especially when I look at the stats here on the other screen, especially around coding, but also reasoning, so deep research. It seems to be better than the other ones, Gemini, DeepReach, research, O3, and so on. So it's another step. It shows the continuously evolving world of main models, large models, and Grok is definitely one of them. And given their role Elon Musk plays in the overall tech ecosystem, it's definitely a player not to miss. It also, and that maybe in the future we'll come back to the discussion around, okay, so what does it mean, the US kind of centric models, and then we have some interesting Chinese models. They are going a different pathway. We can talk about that. And as a last comment, Switzerland actually just published a Swiss language model. This is the other development we see. We talked about the Arabic language model before. Now we have a Swiss model, which was trained, of course, on a lot of kind of neutral Swiss data. And this is another development we are seeing. So a lot happening in the LLM space. And with that, let's move to our AI strategy framework, BTO. We covered B and T in the last 2 sessions. So I think it's kind of valid to talk about the O. Markus, over to you.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the O. So B was the blueprint, right? The blueprint of your strategy. Where do you want to go? It is part of your strategic thinking. It is part of how digital, how AI-driven you want to become as an organization. The T was standing for talent and tech, which leads to another topic we will elaborate much more on in the future, which we call hybrid leadership. And that is about cross-functional teams. It's about infrastructures, your model operations, and so on. Now let's talk about oversight and outcomes, the O, BTO. The O is the topic today. Oversight and outcomes, meaning oversight is governance and risks, ethical behaviors, compliance, and privacy, and things like that. And outcomes can be performance management, it can be scalability, it can be feedback about what you are doing and achieving in the organization. And we are very happy to have someone in the room today who just ran a workshop in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, where all of these topics seem to have been discussed. Rob, tell us a little bit more.
Yes, Markus. This is a fascinating client in Saudi Arabia, owned by the Public Investment Fund, highly profitable, and a tech business that's designed and built a lot of the underlying tech infrastructure that is supporting Saudi Arabia's digital vision. So as an example, they're creating the technology which allows Saudis to use an app which provides all their personal ID information. That can be used for whatever they're doing in the health sector, in education, in business, in payments. They've got a product called Absha, which ties all this stuff together. Now, these guys are early adopters. I first started working with them back in 2018, and wow, they've moved a long way since then. They had a very clear blueprint from the start about how the mandate they were given to develop these digital products should be created, and they've since developed the underlying tech that's used by so many of the different ministries. So the blueprint was there. By their very nature, they're a tech-based organization. They're not short to develop tech ideas and integrating various APIs to the underlying services they provide. And in terms of talent, they invest very heavily in their people. So the B and the T, they're doing very well. The focus for this workshop then was around customer experience and how can they be developing customer first services for their B2B and government clients, but with a very close eye on the end user. And this is where all three of these areas came together. So we're looking at governance and risk, for example. One of their big challenges is getting some guardrails agreed within the divisions and the departments that allow them to work seamlessly across the different divisions with a clear sense of what they can and can't be doing. On the performance targets, they're set very specific growth targets. The challenge they have is orchestrating what they're doing, breaking down the silos and having these working together instead of separate silos, bringing closely defined groups with experts from different parts of the organization. And then finally, when it comes to scale and feedback, a lot of our focus was understanding the customer, getting voice of customer data, which then feeds back into the senior leadership team, helping them better lead and organize their teams with a clear customer first objective. So the B and the T and the O, the B and the T, they're doing largely well already, but the focus was very much on the O. So Markus, that was their experience, and they left with roadmaps which defined for each of the projects we developed in the workshop a clear action plan for each of the projects, linking back to the O in each case.
Very interesting. So I guess for our listeners and the people thinking about what you just mentioned, the question would be, the public investment fund seems to be a very organized and structured and government organization. What does it mean for a smaller organization, from medium-sized to smaller organization? Michael, do you have any thoughts on that? Should they become like a public investment fund?
Yes, definitely. I need
the budget
and a guarantee for bankruptcy. Yes, yeah.
Yes. Oops,
so look, but it's a valid question.
Yeah.
And it's a valid question, especially in the AI context. So I think what is still emerging and developing, what is required of the businesses, on the different levels, and you see the different regulations. So there's a big debate in Europe around the AI Act, and there are some senior leaders who basically really demand and request to rethink the AI Act because it's too tight. And to your question, everyone active in Europe has to comply with the AI Act, even pretty much on all levels. It depends on risk levels and things like that. Not going into the details here, but it's a topic every organization has to deal with. So this is, by the way, one of the discussions when we have clients saying, okay, well, where do we start? So then typically say, customers, we are spending so much on customer service. Let's do a customer service chatbot. Maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe you start somewhere internal where the risk is a lot lower, where the privacy requirements are basically potentially even non-existent because of the matter that you deal with, let's say, operational information or something like that. Then actually you can actually gather the experience in a safe space and then develop slowly what you have to develop outside that. Because as soon as you go into the public area, so your customers, your partners, and others, you have to comply. And this is a little bit different, of course, in other parts of the world, but it's a topic everywhere. So everyone needs to look at actually what these systems do, how they impact privacy, how they actually deal with data and all of that. So yes, to your point, to your question, Markus, it does apply for mid-sized companies as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting point there, Michael. So we came up with a number of scenarios, projects they're working on, and the easiest to develop their roadmaps for were simple things. One, for example, is uploading your photo. Now, uploading your photo sounds like a pretty simple exercise, but actually a lot of the feedback they were getting shows that this isn't so easy after all, and some quick fixes in terms of clear instructions, how to upload the photo, how to videos, can rapidly resolve that challenge and then provide a much better user experience, which then opens up a whole load of services that sit behind it. The more complex projects, having said that, where there was greater need to get compliance and regulatory approval, that created some challenges, not insurmountable, but those wouldn't be the quick wins, which is where these guys are under pressure to deliver. So I think for a smaller organization, but the big one as well, those operational changes where a small change can have a huge impact on the experience and the way that GenAI is being rewarded is a good way to start.
Perfect. So if you're wondering what you need to do in your organization, first of all, feel free to reach out to us because we have plenty of use cases and examples we can share with you. We can advise you on the European law and on other legal systems. But more importantly, we will talk about something next week, and these are really use cases for the B, the T, and the O. Because B stands for what, Michael?
Blueprint.
Very good.
I should know my own framework.
T stands for he didn't know that. He didn't know that was coming. T stands for technology and talent, and the O stands for, Rob?
Outcomes and oversight.
Excellent. So in our next talk, we will give you a couple of examples, and we will also talk about one topic which is on top of your mind. Does the whole organization have to go through the entire change as one, or can there actually be fast-moving changes and slower-moving departments and functions? We will reveal this to you next week. Until then, bye-bye. Sorry, I just made